to show you the trends of where social media marketing is heading. I saw this at RE Tech South about a couple of months ago. Social media is relational, not transactional. And this tweet got a lot of play, and it's true. Here's the problem with social media marketing. It's actually inefficient to try to chat yourself into a deal. And so it's almost like, you know, meeting someone in a supermarket line, talking to them. That's just like Facebook. I mean, if you can get that supermarket person to be your client, good luck. So there's two problems with social media marketing that I think real estate agents face today in getting their message across. The first is that you've been taught not to actually, you know, push out real estate as a message. And the reason is because only a small percentage of the community really wants to talk about real estate at a given time. And it's always been like that for the past couple of years. The second problem is that who has the time to learn all of these tools of social media like you're doing here? And I'm proud of you for doing that. So here's one of the solutions. The first solution is that instead of engaging that 2 or 3% of the community that, you know, wants to talk about real estate, and of course you have to engage them, engage 100% of them first. To create that community engagement is very powerful, and you deliver the 3 things that a community wants to know about in your community. The first is breaking news, everything about the community on level where they're following everything that's happening. And people are enthralled about things that happen locally, even, you know, car accidents down the street. The second thing they want is things to do, like 365 things to do is a good concept. And the third thing, strangely enough, is they all want to know about the latest Groupon or Living Social daily deals within a square mile of where they live. The best part is that you can actually automatically do social media marketing to your community by providing all this information on an automated level without lifting a finger. And so we've been able to do this, and it allows the community to congregate and converse around the news that you are automating your broadcast to. And this is an example of one piece of the puzzle. This is Breaking Bergen County News. Bergen County News actually has a website, a Twitter feed, a Facebook feed, but this is the Facebook feed alone. The insights is the analytics portion, and you could see that in 1 month, Breaking Bergen County News, which ticker tapes news in Bergen County, had a lot of post views, about 1.5 million, and also it got an average of 10 comments or likes per day. This is the way people want to engage in their community. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the new lexicon that's coming up. And you may have not, or may have not have heard these terms, but this term, social commerce, has been really associated with what I call the advent of the Groupon concept. Groupon has really changed how local people shop at this point. Now, I'm giving you an example of now famous Groupon coupon that was offered by a Chicago brokerage, which gave consumers a $1,000 cash rebate for $25. And you can see that 219 consumers in Chicago actually plunked down $25 for the privilege of working with this real estate brokerage. This is a real win-win situation in a certain sense because these people are legitimate, they've paid money to actually work with them, and the brokerage itself, they got all these leads for free. This is an example of how to create a win-win proposition, and the key is to have this value proposition that gets your buyer and seller out of the woodwork and committed to you. And it's only an example. I'm not going to go into the pros and cons of why this works or not. The second term that I'm going to talk about, which most of you haven't heard of, is social discovery. And what social discovery does, this slide is not correct, but social discovery is just like that Groupon ad. It connects 2 parties, the buyer and the seller, 2 parties who want to actually commit to create a transaction. And so an example of, a good example of a social discovery app is eHarmony. Because eHarmony takes 2 parties who want to commit, and then they extract a fee from it. And the only problem with eHarmony is that you have to fill out this long questionnaire. And in a social discovery app that's coming up, that long questionnaire doesn't need to be filled out because everything you are is described in your social media and what is called your social graph. So This slide I thought was going to be changed. I have Let's Lunch as a slide, but now I told you that I'm going to diverge into what I think is a really interesting opportunity. And the opportunity is called Airbnb. It's called AIR, B&B like bedandbreakfast.com. Airbnb is poised to become the Groupon of 2011, and I've been talking to people and almost nobody has heard of Airbnb yet. And that's not surprising because if I surveyed everyone about Groupon last year, you would have never heard of Groupon either. But now I am going to say that next year at this time, you're going to talk about Airbnb just like you're talking about Groupon today. Airbnb is interesting because it's going to completely disrupt the hospitality industry. And indirectly, it's also going to disrupt the real estate industry. And I'm going to explain the reasons for that because no one has really got this connection about how Airbnb creates real estate liquidity. And I'm going to explain this one to you. Now, Airbnb is poised to be like Groupon because it's only a 2-year-old company based in San Francisco, and they're set to get a VC investment that's going to value them at about $1 billion. And that's how disruptive they are. It's a company that VCs didn't even want to invest in at first, but since they've gotten traction, this is what Airbnb does. And I wish I had the slides to show it. Airbnb allows anybody to create a rental listing for free, put it out there, and it's an exchange. People actually rent from other people. And it's built on a Yelp-style reputation system, and it's completely integrated into Facebook. And I'm going to give you an example of what I've done with Airbnb just to prove the concept. I live in San Francisco. I have a studio apartment, a 450 square foot studio apartment below the 2 floors that we live in upstairs. Now, it was a home office. It didn't have a kitchen, so I could not rent it out normally. So since Airbnb came up, I realized that I actually had a bed in the apartment. I could actually rent that out for $70 a night on Airbnb. And if anyone's coming to San Francisco, go to Airbnb and rent it from me. All right? I'm booked from June, July, and I'll probably be booked through August and September. Because, at $70 a night, I'm half the prices of hotels. The studio is immaculate. I offer my hospitality, me and my wife and my kids, and people love it. The people that have stayed there are great because I only pick people that have great reputations. Now, think of the cash flow that it creates. I never had this cash flow before. Now, think of how Airbnb creates a completely brand new layer of revenue for real estate. I'm going to go to a next example. I stayed 2 nights ago in Chicago at an Airbnb place of a guy that had a 3-bedroom apartment. He had great reviews, so I stayed with him. And he rents that 3-bedroom apartment, and he took 2 of those bedrooms and made them like hotel rooms, and he charges $45 a night for each of those. And here's the amazing thing. He's making double the money, I'm estimating, than the monthly rent he's paying. So now, roommates are, anything can be rented out. This really has a lot of implications for what happens, especially in Florida, because in Florida, you've got all of those 3-bedroom houses, those cottages up and down the coast that are empty. Now, it's easy to actually take one of those 3-bedroom apartments, even purchase one, and create a cash flow positive situation on it by creating a virtual bed and breakfast out of it. And that means renting out the rooms individually or in concert, and I can even show you the math that's associated with that. What does that do? Creating a completely new revenue layer creates opportunities in real estate. Think of the opportunities in property management. Think of what you can do with your clients. For example, if you have investor clients, you can actually give them monetizable ways so that when people think of going, if your client's in Philadelphia, for example, and they have properties here, they're going to refer you to their other investor clients because you're able to monetize what they've bought down here. This is really the key idea behind an extra revenue layer. So I wanted to show you this, and I want to show you a final example of where we're headed with Airbnb. My business is that I create the strategies behind all of these new concepts. And so I have a friend, her name is Andrea Ray. She's a broker in Savannah. She has a loft in Savannah. And so she also has a community media resource called BreakingSavannahNews.com. And so our plan is that She's going to get her loft up on Airbnb. I think she has it up right now. And then she's going to create a little, in a way, an advertisement in Breaking Savannah News saying, you know, friends of Savannah, if you have your friends and relatives coming to Savannah to relocate, check with me first because I can give them this loft, put the link to Airbnb, and I can show them around. And this is the idea of how to create the new sales paradigm for today's networks. The idea is, and I'm going to go through this quickly, you have a no-brainer win-win proposition to bring your clients in, and the second is to develop these quid pro quo opportunities so that it compels your community to work together with you. Now I'm going to go finally into the last slides, which I'm completely ignoring because of my little thing about Airbnb. I really want you to think about this because there's so much creativity involved when there's a completely brand new real estate, a revenue layer in here. So I suggest first that it's really important to be a local media star. For these reasons, I'm not going to go through them, but these are also some of the things I wanted to really show you and vanquish some of the ideas that you have with social media marketing. One, it can be automated. That's really important. You can actually use Groupon concepts to be able to develop real value relationships. And then I think the fifth one is always think creatively because this is where you can actually figure out opportunities. If you're a property management company with a lot of empty properties, all you have to do is create an Airbnb business and you can monetize pretty quickly. I mean, this is really almost instant. It's an exchange. So that's where I want to leave with you. I have to go to the airport right now, so I won't have any time to talk with anybody, but what I'd like to do is if you're more interested in two things, automated social media marketing, community presence, or Airbnb strategies, and you're a property manager, you have access to all of these properties, I'd love to speak with you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, and if you could give me your business card on my way to the airport, I'm going to wait 5 minutes out there, hand them to me, and then I'll contact you. And my apologies, I have to go to the airport. Thank you.